The following is part of a quick start guide to quickly give teachers an overview of the Test tab within Math Buddies. I'll click on the Test tab, and it brings me to all of the tests within Math Buddies. If I wanted to narrow my search, I could search for a keyword, fractions for example, and if I even wanted to narrow the grade, I could filter by grade. So here are the third grade pre-test, post-test, and challenge for fractions. If I wanted to do a preview of the test, I could click on the title, and it gives me, as the teacher, a preview along with the answers. So as a teacher, I have access to an answer key. If that's the test I want to assign, I simply move over to the action column on the right-hand side, click on the assign arrow, where I can now adjust my dates, the start on date, the due on date. I can scroll down to find my students. I can click on all, or I can click on a few students. And if I have a student that comes to me from another class, I can include that student as well. Once I've chosen my students, I scroll back up, click on assign, and this test has now been assigned. Also under the Test tab, we can filter tests by what we call intervention tests. And again, I'll filter it by grade level. Grades 1 through 5 have 6 intervention tests. They are broken into problem-solving intervention tests and skills and procedures intervention tests. If a student is struggling with problem-solving, I can assign the intervention test for problem-solving. If they're struggling more with skills and procedures, I would assign the skills and procedure intervention test. And you can see the tests are further labeled Test 1, Test 2, and Test 3. The intervention tests labeled Test 1 are geared more towards the beginning of the year and would cover material typically covered at the beginning of the year. Intervention Test 2 would be more towards the middle of the year and covers material typically covered towards the middle of the year. Test 3 covers material that is typically covered more towards the end of the year. And once again, if I wanted to preview the test, all I would need to do as the teacher is click on the title of that test. So I can preview the test also with the answers. If this is the test I want to assign, once again, I go across to the action column on the right-hand side, click on the assign arrow, where once again I can adjust my start on date, my due on date, and also choose the students that I want to assign it to, either my whole class or perhaps only one student that may be struggling with this particular topic. Perhaps 2 students. I can scroll back up to the top, click on assign, and this intervention test has been assigned to those 2 students. Further, we can track these tests. We can do that under the Task tab. If I click on Tasks, I will see the intervention test we just assigned and also the post-test we just assigned. Tracking a test was covered in an earlier segment of this Quick Start Guide, so for this we'll concentrate on tracking an intervention test. You can see for this particular intervention test that was previously assigned, it was assigned to one student and this student completed it. Of course, I would need more details, so I can go across once again to the action column and click on the view icon, where now I can see this particular student. It was assigned to student 45, scored a 23 on this intervention test. Math Buddies auto-generates a suggested assignment for this student, and this particular student would receive an intense assignment because of his score. Notice the threshold for an intense assignment is 50. If a student scored below 50, he would be auto-generated the intense assignment. There's a more minimal assignment where the threshold would be 75. I, as the teacher, can adjust these thresholds as I see fit. Of course, as the teacher, I can manually override the auto-generation. If I look at this particular student's test paper by clicking on his score, perhaps now I have some insight as to why the student got certain questions wrong, and I may use my experience and my judgment as the teacher to give him a more minimal intervention. And all I did was click on the minimal box. Further, I can also do a more in-depth analysis. If I click on the bar graph, I can now do a question analysis where I can see how many of my students got each question correct, incorrect, or didn't even attempt it. Okay, if I do want to assign this, all I would need to do is click on the green Assign tab, and it would be automatically assigned. If I needed to preview the minimal lesson, I could click on the title, and it will now show me the different components that are automatically generated to hopefully bring this struggling student along.